Well, thank you very much. Great pleasure to be here. Great pleasure to actually speak in this arena. In the last Parliament, apart from the front bench roles I held, I was also Shadow Minister for Liverpool, so I saw this arena rise from a building site to being what it is today. And in fact, what those of you at the back won't realise is those nice round walls behind you actually rotate. Rather like one of those scenes out of James Bond, you may find that you disappear into another arena right behind. But it's a great arena, it's a great place to hold this event, and a great pleasure to be here. I've grown to love this city. It's a magnificent place. It's a great place. It's also a place that has some of the challenges we're all seeking to address. And there is already good work taking place here by the voluntary sector, by private sector providers, and some great projects trying to help deal with some of the challenges that exist in and around Merseyside. And every time I've been to Liverpool in the last few years, I've been struck by the enthusiasm and dedication of people in this area, the drive they really have to get involved in the community, to help change the community, to help make things happen. The employment rate in Liverpool is just over 60%, well below the national average, and it's one of the challenges we have to address, not simply Liverpool, many other cities around the country. And one of the things that always struck me about this city is, we sit here, or stand here, in a great new arena, close to one of the newest shopping centres in Europe, close to a thriving city centre, and yet I could walk you 20 minutes that way to streets where almost nobody is working, to young people who've never worked and have little idea about how to get into the workplace. And I think what we're all about in the next few years is try to help those people overcome that challenge and get into work. And in fact, this is the second visit I've paid to Liverpool since I entered my current post. A few weeks ago, I went to Everton in the north of the city to visit the job centre, to meet people at the West Everton Community Centre, and to Goodison Park, where the Everton Foundation is doing great work in a scheme with a group of young men looking for better career opportunities for their lives, a back-to-work programme called Premier League into Work, which seemed to be really motivating and encouraging and involving those young people, giving them a real sense of purpose and direction. And it wasn't just the football. I mean, the attractions of doing your welfare to work at Goodison Park football ground is clearly an obvious one, but it was also because they had a real desire to get stuck in, to make more of their lives. And that, I think, is the difference that almost everyone in this arena can aspire to achieve. That is what we're all about. It's trying to make a difference for young people and give them a sense of purpose, direction, to give them something to do. And we have today a tragedy of wasted potential in so many of our cities. It's almost in some of these communities, these streets of short distance from here, as if there's been a glass wall around them for what is now perhaps second, third, fourth generation. Not too far away, there are jobs, opportunity, businesses working, things happening, but in those areas, actually, it is as if there's a glass wall around them and the outside world doesn't exist. And I've met too many of those young people who haven't had a decent education, decent job opportunities, a sense of hope and aspiration in the communities they're brought up with. And that, to me, it epitomises not only the failures of policy in the past, but also the challenge we have ahead. Many of those young people, as they've emerged from schools, have ended up churning round and round in the system. They've gone through scheme after scheme. They've been through the New Deals. They may have been through the Future Jobs Fund or be going through it, but there's no direction. There's nothing at the end of it that gives them a clearer and more direct future. And they end up on a merry-go-round that goes round and round again. The worklessness, of course, is only one part of the challenge we face. What you'll find in those areas where there are high levels of endemic worklessness, we have high levels of family breakdown, of addiction, of crime, of debt and benefit dependency, all part of the challenge those communities face. But I've always believed that the worklessness piece is the biggest bit of the jigsaw puzzle at the heart of this. That if you can start to break people out of those communities to get up each morning, go out to work, whether in the city centre or elsewhere, then you can begin to transform their lives. And that is really what we are seeking to achieve. The coalition agreement encompasses all of the things we argued for in opposition. Indeed, actually, there's quite a lot of consensus now across the political spectrum about the need to do things differently, to try and break down those glass walls, to create a society which supports and protects the poorest and most vulnerable, which respects the investment that we all make as taxpayers, spends that money wisely, but which actually creates a system that does things better. And for this area, that means radical reform. It means moving to a situation where we no longer have fragmented programs designed in Whitehall, but where we have a single integrated work program across the nation. It also means changing the benefit system so that we make work pay, and we get rid of the situation where people feel actually that work won't pay for them. It means a vastly different approach which sees worklessness in its true context, which is why it's not just about welfare to work. It's dealing with also that intergenerational cycle of disadvantage, the tragic waste of human potential that arises from failures across different aspects of our social policy. There is an urgency to all of this, which I don't think has been grasped in recent years in government, but we are absolutely seized upon. We want to make a difference, and we want to start to make that difference quickly. We've moved very swiftly to start implementing the promises we made in the coalition agreement, and what I want to set out for you is the latest thinking, our timetable for delivery, what we're aiming to do over the next few months and years. The key aim is to establish a system of employment support that treats people with dignity, and I think treats people as individuals, that tailors what it does to meet the needs of individuals, and that supports those on out-of-work benefits across the spectrum. We want to provide a clear route back into work for everybody who has the opportunity to get back into work, who has the potential to get back into work. I don't want to go through another decade where we end up stuck with nearly 5 million people on out-of-work benefits, and the number really never changes all that much. We want to involve the best of the public sector, the private sector, and the voluntary sector. We want a system that provides fairness for both the unemployed and the taxpayer. And that commitment to fairness is absolutely at the heart of what we do. We have to strike a balance between supporting people to find and keep work, and also asking more of people who are on benefits. We have to find the right balance between the welfare state as a safety net and a best benefit system that sends out a pretty clear message that says if you can work, you must try as hard as you can to get into work and stay there. To make the system truly fair, we have to look at the employment support system in this country in the context of benefits as a whole. Too often, the combined impact of benefits lost and taxation means that work doesn't pay for the poorest if they want to get into work. Too often, the rules and regulations mean that the positives of taking a job aren't worth the risk of losing all your benefits and the hassle of trying to get them back if it doesn't all work out for you. For some people, the move from welfare into work can mean a financial cliff edge. Some people lose more than 95 pence in the pound of every extra pound that they earn if they move back into work. And we are working hard to address that problem and to ensure that we reinforce a clearer approach on welfare to work with a benefit system that can deliver change, can remove those disincentives. It's why my colleague, Lord Freud, who I know is going to be here this afternoon, is working urgently on investigating ways to make work pay and to ensure the transition from benefits into work is a smooth one. Now, on my piece of the equation, the journey back to work, employment support. We will, as we said in the coalition agreement, radically simplify the back to work system. We will end the complexity that we've seen over the past decade, multiple programs coping with all kinds of different groups, replace them with one single program. The work program is intended to provide a coherent package of support for people out of work, regardless of the barriers they face or the benefits they claim. But it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all scheme designed in Whitehall. That's one of the things I think has been done wrong. The Department for Work and Pensions, civil servants have sat down and said, right, here's the specification we want you to operate to. Actually, you're the professionals. It's your job to get people back into work. I want you to decide how best to do it. And we'll be looking to your industry, to the welfare to work industry, to deliver solutions that actually work, freed from Whitehall saying, this is how you do it. We will look to investors from the private sector, the public sector, and the voluntary sectors to provide the support. And success will be measured against the key goal of sustained employment. Do you actually succeed in getting people back into work, and most particularly helping them stay there? And beyond that crucial outcome, that's the measure that matters to me. Beyond that, we are not going to seek to tell you, to dictate to you how to do your job.